Please welcome our next speakers, Clement Guerre and Dr. Oliver Alami.
Hi everyone, I'm Clement Guerre. I'm a French doctor and a visiting researcher here at Stanford.
My name's Oliver Alami, and Clement's going to start us off, so I'm going to take a quick seat.
Yeah, and we have been working with Dr. Alami and SimforHealth on something really exciting we are going to show you. But I would like to start with a question. What does these two pictures have in common? What does aeronautics and healthcare have in common? Well, one answer could be that in both cases, if the pilot or the health professional make a mistake, some people might die. But there are more similarities than that. In both cases, we are talking about teamwork. In both cases, we are talking about managing complex systems. And in both cases, sometimes you have little to no time to take a decision. You have to deal with emergencies. And since we are here to talk about medical education, the next question should be, how do we train our pilots and how do we train our med students? So let's take a look. For the pilots, well, they learn a lot in books. And then they go to a flight simulator and they do hundreds and hundreds of hours of training. And then they go to an actual airplane and they fly it. Okay, so pretty clear here. Books, simulator, airplane. What about the med students? Wow, they learn a lot in books and then, bam, go see patients. So maybe we start to see a little gap here. Of course, we, as doctors, we have to learn. Nothing bad about that. Someday, sooner or later, we are going to face patients. And nothing will ever replace a natural patient. But now, with all the technology we have, can't we make something between books and patient? I think we can, and I think we must. And this is what we have been working on. This is the MedicActiV platform. We will show you an example in 1 minute. But basically, the MedicActiV platform is a platform to do virtual clinical cases. What is a virtual clinical cases on MedicActiV? Well, it's an interactive exercise when you can go, and it's allow you to practice your skill again and again and again, like on simulator. And you can make all the mistakes you want and learn from them, but without hurting anyone. I'm going to make you confidence. I've been trained in Paris, in some very good hospital. And each time I did something for the first time, it wasn't on a patient. For instance, take a lumbar puncture. I remember very well my first lumbar puncture. And I remember very well feeling completely unprepared. But most important, I felt very bad for the patient. So I'm sure you all want to see the MedicActiV platform. So Oliver, maybe we can show what we have been working on.
Thank you, Clement. So I just want to echo what Clement is saying. As a vascular surgeon in the academic setting, we train residents, medical students, fellows, and I experience this every day, but I'm on the teaching end. I'm supposed to guide these students through invasive procedures every day. And that can be very stressful, especially because I feel for the patient. I hate complications, and it's not good for the patient at all. So I thought a good example for simulation would be to address ultrasound-guided vascular access. There are millions of these done every year in the United States, and it's for venous access, either in the ICU, ER, or arterial access for procedures, and that's the setting for us. So what we did is we put together a module where a patient comes in with an abdominal aortic aneurysm. He's surveyed, so the student who's going through the module learns about abdominal aortic aneurysms, what are the indications, and eventually there's a really fun interactive virtual reality ultrasound-guided access module, and then we actually do the procedure. So I'm going to go ahead and start. First, this is the initial encounter where the patient comes in and sees you in the office, and you have to pick the first encounter, and you just have your conversation. You go, you talk about really the questions that you would ask a normal patient who comes in for a surveillance visit. You do your physical exam. You get to look at imaging. And what's nice is this guides you through what needs to be done. And then there are also questions asked about the disease. You know, what are some of the risk factors you can address? When do you want to see the patient again? And that's at a month. And so it's really nice in guiding you through the important parts, because it's not only about the procedure. You have to know when to operate, when to intervene. And that's where these early encounters come in. And then this is the second follow-up visit, where the patient comes back and the patient feels just fine because aneurysms are asymptomatic. Patients don't know they have them. But then when you go and look at the actual ultrasound result, you can actually pull up images with the sizing, and we ask you, has it gotten bigger, smaller? And it looks like the aneurysm has grown, and it's surpassed the indication for treatment. And this is just showing you how you can look at all the different history. If you forget the history, you can go back and look at the history. So everything has references as well. As you can see here, here's the CT. You notice it goes up on the ultrasound, so you order a CT scan. You have to identify how large it is, and then you have many treatment options. Is it going to be an open repair, endovascular repair? And his aneurysm was amenable to an endovascular repair, which is where the ultrasound guidance comes in. And this is where you can literally kill patients if you don't do it right. So let's see, hopefully, oh yeah. This is the virtual reality module. This is a really fun part. This is where you put on the HTV5 headset, and we have all the equipment. This looks just like my lab, by the way. The team did an amazing job to just simulate what a typical endovascular suite looks like. And you can see that you're asked to, or you're guided through getting the right equipment. And the most amazing part, these handheld devices are millimeter, they have amazing tolerance, in terms of sensitivity. And so it's almost like a video game in terms of keeping the ultrasound in the right plane and getting the needle in the vessel and getting appropriate wire access. So I see a lot of great potential here, because there are many, if you can learn the techniques to help prevent complications, then you'll have fewer complications. And so these simulations are incredibly valuable, in my opinion. So the last module is where the patient comes in or you see the patient after the operation, and you see him in the hospital, and you ask them how they're doing. You do your exam. And then there's also a question about, what's the surveillance now that you've completed the operation? So I think there's tremendous opportunity in simulations such as this to help minimize complications. And now with ultrasound-guided access, this should be a never event when you have a retroperitoneal hematoma, pneumothorax, things like that. These are things that are very preventable. So I'll hand it back to Clement.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. So now there is more than that. And let me try to explain why this is really amazing and why this is a revolution to for education. Because one word here. First, it's digital. And when you speak about digital, it's open. And this is really our vision. We want anybody, patient, engineer, health professional, of course, to help us to develop this content. And we want anybody to be able to access this content, where it doesn't import if you are in your room, on a train, in your bus. You can train, you can do these virtual clinical cases. The second word is sharing, and I think this is really amazing because this is really our vision, to be able to have the same quality of education. Whereas you are here in Stanford, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, you can have access to the same quality of education. And you, as a doctor, you can share your knowledge to the whole world. I find it's amazing. And the last word is update. Books are great, but books are expensive and they don't update. And so if you are learning on an old book with bad information, you are learning bad information. And ultimately, that will lead you to maybe harming a patient. I think we really have to work on the way we update our medical knowledge and update our information. And so really that's it. That's what the MedicActiV platform is about. It's about the access and the diffusion of the medical knowledge all over the world. It's about improving the way we train our health professionals. It's about giving them the tools to practice their skill before they go to the real life. And more important, it's achieving better care for better patients. So now my part here is done. It's really up to you. It's your part now. If you think these tools can save life, if you think that you want to be involved, well, join us to help create this content. Join us to help create these virtual clinical cases. And it's really up to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So fantastic presentation, very impressive. Tell us a little bit about the logistics about putting together a case, especially since there's some fairly impressive graphics. How's it done? What's the time effort, especially for perhaps people who might not have a lot of curriculum design or instructional experience?
Of course.
So I could
give you.
So what it took from my end, so I identified this as a very critical area where we should have, it should be a never event, a lot of the complications. And I even last week had to deal with a complication from interventional cardiologist resident who wasn't using ultrasound guidance and ended up with an AV fistula in a patient and a pseudoaneurysm that we had to go in and repair. So just to you have to identify the module, and after that the team was amazing. They actually came in and took pictures, observed a case, took pictures and video of the case to be able to emulate the setting. And it actually took quite a bit of work. I had a resident help me to really script the module to make it as realistic as possible. So there was, effort involved, but the beautiful thing is now this can be replicated, or it could just be copied and shared and used by everybody.
So another author can clone it and change a variable in it.
Exactly.
Voila, you have a new.
It's getting easier and easier, but actually this is really our vision. We want to work with the people that actually doing the thing. We want to work with them. We want to involve them, because I think that if you're involved in making a virtual clinical cases, that's the best way that you want to use it after. So this is really a good example of what we want to do.
Very good, very good. Questions? Raise your hand and identify it. Yes, ma'am. Identify yourself, please.
That's a very good question. So as you can see, because we have a booth just outside, and you can try the virtual clinical cases. We are working with HTC, and so like in September, like in 4 months, we are going to be able to make this multiplayer case. And I think this is amazing because we were talking about teamwork, and that could be very valuable for the team to work together as a team, to have 5, 6 people playing together. And in surgery, you could have the vascular surgeon and the anesthetist working together with the patient on real surgery. So that's definitely something we are going to do in the next few months.
Yeah, there's a very expensive simulation lab in the basement of this building where they do exactly that. They simulate, they bring in the surgeons, anesthesiologists, students, scrub nurses, and try to simulate events. And
but
this
they
is
have to
perfect.
be in the same place.
Yeah, it's perfect for that.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Name, please. To cover the entire curriculum?
It's a great question, and in fact, I was so amazingly impressed with the tactile, kind of the sensitivity of the device, that I told the group that I work with, I said, you have to turn this into a game so that you can just make it an ultrasound guided access period. So it's not, outside of EVAR. So I absolutely knew as an anesthesiologist, no, you're putting in IJs all the time and femoral lines and so on. So I think there's tremendous opportunity. But you're right. And, in healthcare, and when people, everyone talks about workflow. And workflows are extremely unique in every setting. And so you almost have to put in the work for my residents to get them interested and excited. And maybe it'll be different for anesthesiologists. But you're right, it is a lot of work. But you can take out these little modules, just the ultrasound access part, and put it into a, getting ready for a big cardiac bypass case.
And the other thing is, not for virtual reality, but for all the whole encounter, we have actually a tool, and it allows you to actually go into the tool and build your own cases without us. You do not need to know how to code all that stuff. It's like a game. You choose the avatar, you choose the content, all you can imagine, and you put that in the platform, and it's ready to use. We just check for the content to be scientifically accurate, and it's up to you. So that's one way to provide a lot of content very quickly.
All right. Please join me in thanking Oliver and
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now joining us on stage are